You're relocating to Fort Wayne, Indiana, or the surrounding area, and you have started the job hunt process, but you're not exactly sure what there is to do out in this area. My name is Jondi, and I'm a realtor in the Fort Wayne, Indiana area. And I relocated with my family in 2018 from Seattle, Washington. And we were curious to know what kind of jobs were out here. If you want to learn more about relocating, I have a whole series on jobs, school, safety, neighborhoods, and new construction. So be sure to follow that series to learn more about that. But in this one, we're specifically covering jobs and what are the major employers in and around the Fort Wayne, Indiana area. If you didn't already know, Fort Wayne is actually the second largest city in Indiana. The next largest ones are Indianapolis, and then you have to go outside of Indiana. So over in Illinois, the Chicago area, or Columbus, Ohio, those are the next biggest cities. And when it comes to being the second largest city in Indiana, we have a number of healthcare jobs. There are two major health providers and soon to be a third. We have Parkview Regional, and then we also have Lutheran Health. There are several different hospitals, and I highlighted them here on the map for you to see. We also have IU Health. There's going to be one in Southwest Fort Wayne coming in 2027. So there are travel nurses that come in to Fort Wayne. We have a number of Airbnbs and short-term rentals for this very reason. We also have trains though. So we have a lot of our transit coming in and out of Fort Wayne, and it travels to the other states surrounding us. So we have CSX, Norfolk Southern, Amtrak, and then we have CFE, which is Chicago Fort Wayne Eastern Railroad. These are different railroad systems that come through the area, and they have several plants in the area where they work and transfer people in and out of the neighboring states so that they can have employees here as well as the surrounding areas. One of the other major things that we employ for here in the Fort Wayne, Indiana area is manufacturing. So I'm going to run through a quick list of these. I will have a link to several of their websites down in the description so you can find out more. But you can also use Indeed or other headhunters in the area to help get you temporary employment to start with and to find out more about the companies. Steel Dynamics is the first company that I'll be talking about today. They're located near Jefferson Point area and Butler, Indiana. They have between 10 and 12,000 employees between the two locations. So this is one of the major employers that is in the Fort Wayne, Indiana area and surrounding. So you have Fort Wayne, which is the heart of the area, but you also have manufacturers who have started manufacturing plants just outside of Fort Wayne because the land is cheaper and it's easier to build in those areas. Sweetwater Sound is located northeast of Fort Wayne, Indiana. They have about 2,300 employees, and this is actually a really cool place to go and visit. I know that a lot of schools actually go and do field trips here because they have a beautiful storefront as well as recording studios and fun things to do, as well as their separate facility on the same site that they do all of their manufacturing from. Definitely a really cool place to check out if you visit Fort Wayne, Indiana. One of our larger assembly plants is General Motors. They're located in the southwest corner of Fort Wayne, Indiana. They employ just over 4,000 employees, and they produce the Chevy Silverado 1500 and the GMC Sierra 1500 trucks. This facility, along with others around Fort Wayne, hire people seasonally to work on different projects that they have going on. There are a lot of retail jobs in Fort Wayne, but one thing that I learned when it comes to restaurants was that during the good weather months, so anytime from May till probably end of August, restaurants out here are a lot slower, so you don't get as much traffic. It is not as busy. So if you're thinking about working during the summer months in the restaurant industry, it is a bit slower because the weather is nice and it's not too hot here, so people love to get outdoors and enjoy the weather. Dana Corporation is located in Fort Wayne, Indiana, as well as Albion. Now, Albion is located just northwest of Fort Wayne. So if you were downtown Fort Wayne, it would take about 45 minutes to get there. But total, they have around 700 employees. They manufacture axles and drive shafts. I'm curious to know if you've worked for a large company in the past? Did you get directly hired by going through their website or knowing somebody? Or did you use an employment agency company or a headhunting company to get the position that you've had there before? Fort Wayne Metals is another manufacturing company, and they are located in South Fort Wayne and have about 1,200 employees. The next company that I'm going to talk about is not a manufacturing company. It is actually Brotherhood Mutual, and they have about 700 employees located in Central Fort Wayne. So if you're interested in positions that do not include just manufacturing, this is another large company in Fort Wayne that you could work for that does financial planning and other things like that. Since Fort Wayne is the second largest city in Indiana, we have a lot of options for education. So in another video, I talk about the different school districts in and around Fort Wayne and the surrounding area. We also have some universities as well as our own community college. So you can check that out in my other video that I'll put down in the description. So there's a lot of opportunities for educators out there. The last two companies that I'm going to talk about are distribution facilities. So there's a lot of traffic that comes in and out of Fort Wayne distributing products. One of them is located in Garrett/Auburn, Indiana, and that is the Walmart Distribution Center. There's a couple of others located throughout Indiana, but this is one of the larger ones, and they're building a second facility on their property currently. The other distribution centers are Amazon. We have two of those distribution centers. One is located near the airport in Fort Wayne, and the other is located northeast. They employ about 1,000 employees currently. So if you're looking to work for a company that does a lot of distribution, these are definitely some warehouses to check out. Now that I've gone over all the major employers and the jobs that are available in and around Fort Wayne, if you're curious to know where you should move or what you should do when you're moving to Fort Wayne and what part of town to live in, I have two separate videos that you could watch. One goes over all the price points for the different locations in and around Fort Wayne. The other one talks about if you're moving here and you've never lived here before. I talk a little bit about my story that me and my family experienced when we moved here and what we did. You can also check out some of my other videos in this series that talk about pricing for figuring out moving companies and how to get your items here, as well as schools and fun places to check out and things to do.